brothers and sisters, I often quote and say that me, Minister Dawood, I am a system guy and I am a movement guy. And I don't apologize for that. I'm not anti-groupthink guy. I'm not I need no teacher guy. I'm not all by myself guy, and, I don't need no this and I don't need no that, blah, 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 blah. To me, that's not black. That's not African. That's not Islamic. That's not Hebraic. It's not Moorish. When you come on the scene talking about all you need is you, yourself, and you don't need to work with nobody. When we work together is groupthink. I've already addressed the groupthink thing, but for me, that says a whole lot about you, because that means that somehow, some way, you have tried to work with other people and it never worked. Your tone of voice when you talk about black people tells me if it worked. Your way of speaking about the ills of black people tells me if it worked. Your way of being angry and addressing black people when you say things like, I'm not here to be liked, and you're not going to like me, and this, that, and the next thing. All of these particular words and phrases tell me exactly what I need to know about you, whether you have ever really worked with a group of black people and tried to accomplish a goal. In other words, like our lessons teach us, whether you have been a part of a society of men and women or groups of women and men for one common cause. Your language tells me everything I need to know about that. And so for me, my journey as a system guy was one that really, really helped me in my life, because when I was younger, I was always looking for a system to be a part of. I always wanted to organize my friends into groups and clubs and, whatever it is that was unified. I've always been a unified guy. Dare I say it, yes, I did play video games, and do sometimes, even with my son now these days. I don't like to play against other people. I don't like the competition. I really don't. I like to join together. I will not play against him. I would like to join together with him, because I've always been a system and a movement guy. Do you understand that? Do you understand where my heart comes from? I'm not the guy that wants to be separated from the whole. I'm not the guy, yes, I know I stand out. Yes, I know my voice is unique. Yes, I know I have unique talents and unique gifts and a unique vision. That's true. But I want to implement my vision with other people who see things like me, but they have a different spin on it. Not everybody is going to be the same. Not everybody is going to talk the same or think the same. I discourage people from talking like me or thinking like me. But one thing I do know is that my personality, no matter how soft-spoken you think I am, is so strong that when I'm around people for a certain amount of time, they start talking like me. I can see the subtle nuances in their voice and what they say. They start talking like me. However, they obviously came into my circumference because their frequency is the same as mine, and we vibe with one another. If it wasn't, then I would repel them or they would repel me. So I have always been a guy that believed in the systems and the movement. And when I say system, do you understand what I mean? When I say system, I mean a set of principles, a set of steps, a set of procedures that are already in place that you don't necessarily have to follow by like a robot, but at least you have a system in place in which you know that you have some measure of control when unpredictable things happen. You see, brothers and sisters, if you study military strategy and history, the old adage goes, a well-made plan only lasts the first 5 minutes of battle. So if the well-made plan only lasts the first 5 minutes of battle, why would you make a plan? Why would you draw one up? Why would you research and come up with a strategy? Well, it's quite simple. If you go into the battle with no plan at all, you have no frame of reference. You have no way of improvising and bending. You're just coming off the hip, and 9 times out of 10, you will be defeated. This is the reason why in the BIO, we do not really not subscribe necessarily, but for some reason, we don't get along with a lot of the militant rhetoric kind of groups. I don't put them down, but we don't get along with them because these are shoot-from-the-hip guys. These are guys who do research. Yeah, they do research. They do reading. They do statistics and all that other stuff. But when you really get them down to a nuanced plan as to how they want to build a nation here or a nation someplace else, they really can't tell you because they plan to shoot on the hip. And their basic plan is, well, we're going to kill some this and we're going to kill some that. They don't know what they really want to do. They don't have a system. If you look at sports, basketball, football, baseball, any team that has great talent but doesn't have a system is a team that will always take huge rises but huge falls. We, at the Black African Infrastructure Organization, we don't believe in taking huge falls. And we don't believe in making meteoric rises. We want a steady, slow, steady, nuanced, step-by-step rise in which we can control. We don't care if you see it. We don't care if you get impatient and you want the plan. We don't care if you want it right now, because the way we look at it is you've been waiting for almost 400 years for what we're trying to propose. We're going to do it in our own good time. So coming through the Nation of Islam and still being a minister of Islam, and coming through the security field, and now coming through the electronics field and dealing with codes and standards and things like that, I love systems. I love systems. I don't believe in anything that is not system-based. I don't want to be a part of anything that's not system-based. When I see something go on and I'm a part of something and I don't see a system, I get really irritated and agitated and I want out. So therefore, brothers and sisters, that is my philosophy basically on systems and movements. Movements in respect is something that I've been a part of pretty much all my adult life. I spent my life, you know what I'm saying, living in Brooklyn, New York, and then I came into the Nation of Islam, one branch of it. We left that branch, formed our own branch. Now I have my own basic temple, my own movement, so to speak. But I am a member of BAIO. I'm a member of a group called Community Focus. These are all movements. When you have a positive movement that promises independence to black people, melanated people, brown people, whatever the hell you want to call us these days, I'm down for that. I'm a movement guy. I want to be a part of something that is actually going somewhere. I want to be a part of something that's making a change. I want to be a part of something that's actually doing something for somebody and has tangible, testable, and verifiable results. So when you say that you're a movement guy, this is kind of what you want. You want to be a part of something that gives tangible results. And this is me. This is what's in me. So as I always tell people, there's two parts of me that you can always find at the root of any decision that I make. I want order and I want control. Not to be in control of everything, but I want some measure of control of me. And so therefore, brothers and sisters, listen, as I've said before and I'll say it again, the first generation, Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said other black leaders, those are basically the big three, but said other black leaders that represent various different modalities and thoughts, they put in the work. They were the ones who gave us physical context. Marcus Garvey built physical context. Honorable Elijah Muhammad built a huge physical context. And even Noble Drew Ali, although it's not played as much in the public, and even by some Moors, built a huge multi-million-dollar physical context with the Moorish Science Temple movement. I know some of my BIO brothers don't agree with the Moorish Science Temple, but me, I'm a movement guy, and I love the Moorish Science Temple. I do. I don't necessarily love a lot of people who espouse it today, but the gentleman that is the sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple locally, and another brother of mine, we get along famously, and I love that brother. Love those brothers. It is what it is. So therefore, that's the first generation. Second generation, you have those of us, me, my generation, in the various different movements, you know, Nation of Islam, the Wahabians, Hebrew Israelites. We carried the banner of our forefathers and we elevated the teaching, but we really did not elevate and continue on with the physical context. So those nations rose, or those leaders, organizations and physical context rose and it fell. Understand? The structure rose and it fell. We were supposed to carry it on, but somehow my generation found it a lot harder to rebuild the physical context like they did. Now, you never really talked about this. You never really said anything, because your basic unintelligent answer to this whole thing was that these leaders were insincere. You know what I'm saying? You know, you could say that this leader, and that, I'm not going to even mention no names because I don't get down like that, but, you know, this leader of Islam is insincere. This leader of the Nuwabian faith is insincere. And that's your unnuanced answer. But have you ever sat back and really thought to yourself, maybe it was a lot harder for them to build than their forefathers were? Maybe it was a lot harder for them to take their money and put it to something? And if you really do the knowledge, if you really do research, and you go through court files and records and things like that, you will find that all of these second-generation leaders actually tried to build a physical context. They tried to rebuild with their forefathers, and that was some of the rhetoric that they were using to make their rise. However, it was so much harder for them that even the little thing that they built crumbled overnight. Overnight. Businesses that they had crumbled overnight. Structures that they had crumbled overnight. Not crumbled as in they disappeared, but are now vacant and on lease and not open and things like that. Can't keep it consistently open. These are the things that multiple leaders are going through. Some had structures that were ran up on by the FBI and the CIA. Some got taken down by tax liens. It became infinitely harder for these second-generation leaders to build a physical context than it was for the first-generation leaders. I know you don't want to hear that. I know that you make a living, a lot of you teachers out there, you phonies, you make a living just saying that these leaders were insincere and they quote-unquote failed us. You are a punk. You didn't even try yourself. So you have no idea what it takes to try to build a physical context when people are giving you the nickels, pennies, and dimes that they're giving you, and you got the cracker on your back trying his best to stop you from doing what you're doing, using a lot better clandestine and behind-the-scenes legal moves to keep you from doing what you're doing. You have no earthly idea because you never tried to do it yourself. So it's easy for you to mash on all of these second-generation leaders and say they just wasn't sincere. They didn't try to do it. They just took the money and they stuffed it in their pockets. And some of them did stuff it in their pockets. But even when they were stuffing it in their pockets, they tried to use some of that money to build stuff, and it was made harder for them. You don't understand. You really don't understand. And so now we have the third generation. The third generation of lovely, they call them, the young generation, and they're coming up, and they now have the ability to make some changes. But to me, if we're going to be successful, brothers and sisters, we have to give them a nationalist mental architecture. When I say nationalist mental architecture, I'm not leaving out spirituality. When I say nationalist mental architecture, I'm not leaving out your metaphysical aspect. When I say nationalist mental architecture, do you understand what I mean? Just like hip-hop is a culture that people limit to just rapping and rhyming, but it's graffiti, it's dancing, it's cutting and scratching, it's music, it's sampling, it's clothing, it's rhythm, it's TV shows, it's actors, it's a whole big culture that's bigger than just hip-hop, just rapping and rhyming. It's battle rhyming on the underground. It's even violence to some degree. It's a hip-hop culture. Nationalism, black nationalism, is bigger than one aspect that you and I have focused on, brothers and sisters. It's bigger than that. Some want to focus nationalism simply on go back to Africa. Some want to focus black nationalism on black power, let's kill whitey. Some want to focus black nationalism on, on let's get back to our African spirituality. Some want to focus it on African metaphysics. If you really understand a nationalist mental architecture, if you understand the word architecture, this refers to the bare bones blueprint plans and foundations of any structure, any building, and there's codes, there's laws, there's rules, there's regulations that basically govern how you build it. If you don't follow these laws, rules, and regulations, it will crumble, but it brings in a lot of different disciplines in order to make a building. Understand that. When you are drawing something as an architect, you have to take into account the sheetrockers. You got to take into account the electricians. You got to take into account even the fire security and the security people. There's a lot of disciplines that come into play when you're an architect and you are drawing the plans for a building. Likewise, brothers and sisters, to give your children a black nationalist architecture, we have to come together and make sure that they completely understand all that is involved in what's called black nationalism. And black nationalism is the mother, it's the ultimate, it's the ultimate vision and view and overview and strategy that houses what's called the conscious community, that houses what's called the Nation of Islam, that houses Hebrew Israelites. Black nationalism is the mother of it all. It's the tent the big tent that houses it all, and that's what it all comes under. Because at the end of the day, your enemy only sees you as a black nationalist. He doesn't see you as just this one or that one or black first or that. He sees you as a black nationalist. It's the mother title and the mother umbrella for everything. And if you can give your child a full spectrum black nationalist architecture, mental architecture, then you have left a viable future for your children and for the movement itself. And so be that as it may, brothers and sisters. Yeah, we dealing tonight. I mean, we're really going to get into this. And I'm not here, as some angry dude that this, that, and next thing, but I'm just really fed up with this same old stuff over and over again. I just get tired of hearing it. We as black people, we don't do this. And we as black people, we don't, but, I digress. I'm going to get into that later. So let's talk about this Donald Trump phenomenon, shall we? Let's talk about this, because man, a lot of y'all is really hot under the collar with Mr. Trump, aren't y'all? And you're so hot under the collar that we decided we was going to show up at a Trump rally. And I'm looking at Facebook and social media, and people is like, yeah, we showed them what time it was. We mobbed, and you know what I'm saying? Now he canceled another rally and this, that, and the next thing. Can I ask you a question? I'm going to ask you two questions, as a matter of fact. What do you think you did by that? If you're a black nationalist or you're from the conscious community and you're cheering the fact that black people showed up to a Trump rally, got violent, and got it canceled, what did you accomplish with that? Did you get yourself, more money and resources? Did you get your movement more prestige and you more prestige? Were you able to bargain for a better place in America by doing that? Or did you just halt the inevitable? That's question number one. Question number two is, what are you afraid of, man? What are you afraid of? Because to me, what these demonstrations show is that black people is really afraid. We really afraid of this man becoming president and doing to us what you really think he's going to do to you. And for me, I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. What are you afraid of? Do you think Donald Trump is going to be worse than Ronald Reagan was? Do you think he's going to be worse than both George Bushes were? This is 2016, brothers and sisters. You mean like there's no white man, whether he loves the KKK, the skinheads, or whatever, is going to do anything worse than any other president did to you, man. If you were on the bottom rung before Donald Trump, you know what I'm saying, became president, you will be on the bottom rung after he's there. You just have a man representing your country saying what a lot of different white people really think about you. That's it. And if you're afraid of that, I don't know what to say to you. Because I'd rather have the president like that saying that than one that's telling me that he got love for me and compassion to conservatism, and meanwhile is erasing my rights, by the minute. And so either way, brothers and sisters, the name of this particular show is called Counter-Strike, this series. Let's talk about economics for a second, okay? Let's talk about economics, and I got to get some paperwork here, so bear with me for a second, okay? Oh, you got to get me some paperwork for a second here. And let's get on with it here. Okay, so, let me ask you this question. Okay? Since you are going to these, many of us, are going to these rallies to try to stop Trump, do you think that we're doing good economically in America as a people? Do you think so? Do you think that we're doing better, that we're really doing well? Now, listen, brothers and sisters, this is outside of individual gains that all of us are making. I'm doing pretty decent, you know what I'm saying? Most of my brothers and sisters in BAIO is about their bread, so they're basically doing decent. This is not us trying to tell you that we're all poor, okay? This is not us trying to tell you that none of us is living a decent life, none of us is driving nice cars, anything like that. Far be it upon me to tell you that. I'm going for the gold, and after that, the platinum, okay? Boom. But what I'm saying is, as a whole, as a people, if you go to your hood that you grew up in, do you think that we're doing good economically as a people? And if you don't think that if you do think that we're doing good, let me read this to you for a second. This is something that Hola put me onto, so I have to give him credit. Okay? The title of this is 30 Years of Black Economic Regression. It says, Black progress in the United States, the kind you can measure in numbers, is a myth. A new study confirms that blacks have been steadily falling further behind whites in wealth for the past 30 years, which means the Great Black Regression has lasted about twice as long as the brief period of progress in the wake of the 60s. Short of a revolution, blacks will never achieve parity with whites. Black households have been falling further and further behind whites since at least 1984, when guess who? Ronald Reagan was in office. President Obama almost always speaks well, but he hardly ever speaks the truth. Obama's main theme at this month's Selma commemoration was that you'd have to be crazy not to realize that conditions of the life of black folks are improving in America. In reality, however, blacks have been losing ground compared to whites for at least 3 decades. That's not 3 years, brothers and sisters. It says blacks have been losing ground compared to whites for at least 3 decades. In other words, black economic progress is a myth. A new study by Brandeis University and the Demo think tank shows that the typical black household, now check this out, this is really what's going to shock you. This is what I'm trying to get at. You ready? Are you strapped to your seat or your couch or whatever? Okay? Because I hope that you are. Okay? The typical black household now possesses just 6% of the wealth of the median white household. The white household is worth a little over $110,000 compared to the median black household wealth of just $7,000. I think I need to read that again. Okay? I really do. The white household is worth a little over $110,000 compared to a median black household wealth of just $7,000. The racial wealth gap is virtually unchanged from a similar Brandeis study conducted back in 2010, which showed the typical white household was 20 times richer than his black counterpart. 20 times richer than his black counterpart. Now, some of you out there who are listening to this, you make $100,000 or better. Some of you make 80, some of you make 70, some of you make 60. And if you're making 60, 70, 80, you know damn well, just as I do, that you had to, you had to do a lot to get to where you at. You had to take a lot, you had to do a lot, you had to suck down a lot. You know that you did. Either way, the fact of the matter is that you know damn well that where you are, not many of the people that you grew up with is there. You know that there's not many people there that you can call up and say, hey, man, like, not many people is there. Not many black people is there. So you had to basically make new friends once you got there. You had to make new acquaintances. You had to hook up with new people because the majority of the people that you knew growing up is just scraping check by check, even if they're making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. Most black people are not making $100,000 and better. And the goal for most of us is to get to 6 figures, but we know damn well that we're going to have to give up a lot and sacrifice a lot. So let me ask you this. If you are in the 6-figure department, are you a part of the conscious community? Are you a black nationalist? Are you able to get on Blog Talk Radio and talk bad about black men and black women? Are you really able to, are you really able to do all of these radio shows and Facebook posts if you're making $100,000? If you're making over 6 figures, are you able to attend debates and what? You get what I'm saying here, brothers and sisters? Listen, this is one of the reasons why a lot of you pump up certain dudes who talk about black economics and prosperity, and I tell you that if these people were really making that amount of money, they would not be on YouTube as well as Facebook all the time that they are. Because to be a black person making 6 figures in America, you working your hands and your ass to the bone, B. Okay? Okay? So the reality of this myth of building, quote-unquote building, we all got to be building in America, is just that a myth. You can do it individually, but as a group, just like our second generation leaders found out, it's an uphill climb with a boulder and a current coming your way. And the reality of the situation is without land, infrastructure, and nationhood, building and prosperity is simply a dead. And we're back, brothers and sisters, and I really hope and pray that you're enjoying 13 Revolution on BAIO Radio. We are carrying a very powerful message this week, and this is the beginning of a 3-part series called Counter-Strike. In this particular one, we are talking about prosperity, and basically the concept of Counter-Strike is very simple. This show and the ensuing shows is my counter to all of the negativity that's being used against black people, sort of like black guilt, sort of like shaming. Because the reality of the situation to me is that when you engage in shaming, when you tap into black suffering, when you constantly resharing memes of black people burning at the cross, dying, getting killed, things like that, then quite frankly, you are nothing more than a poverty pimp prospering either off of black people's dollars by using pain or they're suffering to make you feel like you're really deep. And the reality of the situation is that you're not given any solution. And even the solutions that you may give if you don't use that is short term. But the reality of the situation is that me, I am so tired of going to the same messages and hearing the same damn thing, brothers and sisters. I don't want to see another slide about somebody burning at the cross. I don't want to see another slide of 5 dogs around a guy hanging off a rope, beating them. But I don't want to hear that. You know something? I'm gonna say this off script. Do you know what? When it comes to me, I don't watch any slave movies. I never seen Django. I never seen 12 Years a Slave. I never seen Amistad. I never seen none of those movies, and I never will. I'm not feeding my psychology that. You can do that if you want to. I'm not doing that. I will not go see none of those goddamn movies. And I saw Roots when I was younger. I was deaf, dumb, and blind, eating pork at that particular time. Once I got conscious, I stopped watching those movies. I don't need to. I know that black people, we have a history that goes way beyond slavery. And quite frankly, I have read enough books and read enough stuff on slavery. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his messages, and a lot of his public messages, addresses a lot of these issues from back in the day. So I have enough of that in my spirit and my soul for a lifetime. I don't need to be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, with you resharing photos of black people burning alive. I don't care about that. I don't. I want to talk about what's happening today and how we can fix it, and the ultimate fix for it is anyway. So therefore, brothers and sisters, let me read the monologue to you. The monologue, Counter-Strike the Endgame to the Same Problems, Prosperity 1.0. In my judgment, as a system and a movement guy, we will continually recycle the same tired issues with younger reinforcements until we agree that the problems that we face actually originate somewhere. There is indeed a source. The bravest thing we can do is deal with the source and move on from there. These next series of shows will make a case for this argument. Now, I think that's beautiful. I really do. I know you would say, if you do say so yourself. I do say so myself. I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful when you say that the bravest thing we can do is deal with the source and move on from there. That's beautiful to me. That's what I want to be a part of. The dictionary says a source is anything or place from which someone comes, arises, or is obtained. A source is also the beginning or place of origin or of a stream or river. But a source is also a book, statement, person supplying information. The source is also a manufacturer or supplier. You know what I want to go with, though, brothers and sisters? Anything or place from which something comes, arises, or is obtained. That's what I want to deal with. So here's the deal. When you go to the average conscious community lecture, no matter what house you go to, Nation of Islam house, Nuwabian house, conscious community, African spirituality house, militant house, what do you usually hear? What do you usually hear? Well, nowadays, instead of hearing the same old "we have to bang on the beef" talk, nowadays what you're hearing is black people, we use too much drugs. Black people, we are, Beyonce is a whore, and why would Mensa Farrakhan want to protect a whore? And, you're starting to hear things like, all women is scantily clothed, and this, that, and the next thing. I heard all of this stuff just recently. This is the kind of stuff that you hear at these conscious community lectures and rallies. Police brutality. We got to check the police. Who controls the police? Who polices the police? We need to police ourselves. We need to start our own thing. You know what I'm saying? We need to control our borders so that the drugs don't come into our community. It's the white people putting the drugs in our community. And after you hear all of this terrible, shaming stuff about black people, you know what the conversation usually descends into? That's why you got to help me by giving me $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $900. Boom. $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. I need $6,000 for this. I need $7,000 for that. I need. You're starting to figure out who I like and who I don't like, right? You're starting to figure out who I subscribe to and who I don't subscribe to. I am not going to give another goddamn minute to another person who's going to stand and talk for 3 hours about how messed up black men and women are. I could give a goddamn less. If that's what you want to do, and that's how you get down, that's fine. But me, Minister Daoud, the man who loves black people, who gets along with virtually all black people. Listen, I got enemies too. I got enemies. Trust me, I got enemies. But I got way more friends than I got enemies, I can tell you that. And in my lifetime, to be very honest with you, as long as I've walked on the right side of Allah, I never really had to lift a finger as long as I've walked this life. You know what I'm saying? So be that as it may, that doesn't mean I don't prepare and train so I don't get it twisted. But be that as it may, brothers and sisters, I do not want to listen to that kind of stuff. I am a healer. I like to talk about people feeling better. I like to make people feel better. And to me, the ultimate way for us to feel better is to have a nation of our own. But listen, so let me share this story with you, brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? So we had Savior's Day this year in the local black community, right? I put that on most every year by Allah's grace. I only missed it 1 year since my teacher has passed. So in any event, we have the Savior's Day. We have various different speakers. Like I said, one gentleman calls in. He wants to talk about Minister Farrakhan and this, that, and the next thing, securing Beyonce. I could care less. Beyonce is a whore, and we shouldn't be securing her. If that's what they want to do, I could care less. That's his prerogative. It really is. To me, it's stupid for you on radio, on Facebook, and at a Savior's Day convention in which we're supposed to, it's a national Savior's Day where you sitting there, you talking about, you know what I'm saying, Beyonce, whatever. I can't even believe some people. But here's where it took a turn for the interesting. Because, listen, me, Minister Daoud, I make no bones about it. I am different. If it makes you feel uncomfortable to hear me say I'm different, wait till Monday, Thomas will be on. Wait till Tuesday, Carl will be on. Wait till Wednesday, Holip will be on, and skip over Thursday. I'm going to keep telling you that until you get tired of hearing it. I am different. I am a different kind of Muslim. I'm a different kind of minister. I'm not getting up there to talk about that. I'm not getting up there to talk about slavery, suffering, and death neither. You know what I'm getting up there to talk about? I'm getting up there to talk about how we as a people cannot build a goddamn thing unless we get the skills that we need. That's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about how to use the supreme wisdom that comes from our nation and use it to give black people the skills we need so that if we think about making a nation within a nation or a nation on our own, we could do so. Now, listen, I'm not saying I'm down for a nation within a nation, but what I'm saying is the discussion of nation within a nation doesn't even make sense because you don't even have enough people who can build a nation within a nation. You don't have enough qualified people to even think about building a nation within a nation, and at some point, your nation that's within this nation is going to need the nation's help to build your nation. Does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to me. And so therefore, brothers and sisters, I got up there and talked about what I talk about, which is how we should use the message of Honorable Elijah Muhammad to build skills, how we as a second generation, we failed the third generation because we were not able to build what we needed to build. And I didn't say that. It's not contradicting what I said earlier. Yes, it was harder, and trust me, I was one of them, so I know it was harder. But at the same time, what I'm saying is we didn't focus on it enough. And so because of that, a gentleman who was kind of a tweener from the first generation and second generation, He got right up there with, I should have let the people go and eat. He got right behind me and started talking about, our generation, we had a lot of mom and pop stores and we don't have that no more. What the hell does that have to do with the price of tea in Angola? Can you tell me that? What does that have to do with the price of tea in Africa? Are you serious? And so I sat there and I looked at him and I was completely puzzled with this. Are you crazy? Like, that is your way of justifying what we don't have now? Is that we had mom and pop stores, you had that, we don't have it? This is the kind of sorry-ass justification that we use not to get on our G and not only acquire the skills ourselves as second generationers, because it's not too late for us, but to pass down the nationalist mental architecture to the young who are fluent with digital technology, who are fluent with education, who are fluent with social media and things like that, and inspire them to take their time and their energy and use it to get the skills that is needed to build the nation that you say that you want. That you keep complaining that the white man won't give you, when in reality you are too scared and too occupied with archaic thoughts and ways to get the skills you need to build that nation. You're too scared. And so therefore, brothers and sisters, what I realized when I got home and I had time to think about that, and another thing that really pissed me off is, do you realize that a lot of people from second generation, they don't even understand why we as a people don't have anything? Do you understand that? They don't even understand why. They come up with a lot of different reasons, but we don't really understand why. We don't understand why we don't have anything. We don't. And the reality of it is, additionally is, most people from the first generation are embarrassed at the fact that we have nothing to call our own. They are. They just don't know why we don't have it. But they're extremely embarrassed. So when this gentleman heard what I said, it tweaked the nerve inside of him. And he had to come up and go behind what I said, because to him, it's like, no, I'm not going to let you call out the fact that we didn't do anything, or we didn't try hard enough. So I got to come up with something crazy. And I tweaked them. And I've done it before. I know I've done it before. But the reality of the situation is that their talk basically descends into mashing on our generation, saying that we dropped the ball. It's the second generation and the third generation. We dropped the ball. If we listened to them, we'd have been able to go further. But we wanted to go to college and we wanted to do this. So we did that because you guys were broke. You guys were broke, and you guys neglected us to the point where we knew that we had to focus on prosperity because you did not. And we did not want to be poor righteous teachers or broke revolutionaries. That's why we went to school. But the reality of the situation is that we did not have a nationalist mental architecture. And that's what the BAIO is striving for today, is to pass down and burn in your mind that if you don't have land, infrastructure, and you can't claim nationhood, then everything you do as a black nationalist or conscious community member is pissing in the wind, pissing in a tornado at that. Period. And that's what it descends into. So either it descends into him saying, or her saying, that our generation dropped the ball, because it damn sure wasn't them, right? Or they take the conservative route, the Bill O'Reilly route, and start saying that we are savages of this generation, and that his generation and their generation was more civilized. Well, let me remind you of something about your civilized generation. You guys had dolomite. Was that something that was wholesome and moral and, spiritual and righteous in the eyes of God? You guys had you had Shaft. You had a lot of different dudes who had soft pornography-like movies and tendencies. You had that. You had pornography, hardcore pornography in your day and time, but you also had drugs. When you say, this generation, you had heroin, which you call skags, and you had shootouts. All the depravity that you're blaming my generation of, you had it too. And we're not looking down on you, so why should you look down on us? And so the reality of it, brothers and sisters, and the big point of it all is that if we, our generation, have the same exact problems as your generation had, it's just in a different way, can we all agree that it is not us, it is us living in the source? It is a byproduct of us living in the source. And the reality of it is, if you change the source, you change the entire way we do things. And I say again, if you change the source, then you change the entire way